Well, howdy, y'all. This is Clay, and I'm Lloyd, and this is Iron Sharpening Iron with the Kahler boys.
We got a good one. Whoa, we got a good one.
Today's what, the 25th?
Is it?
Is that right?
I
think that's right.
Let me take a peek. I believe so.
I believe we are on January 25th.
January 25th.
Isn't that nuts,
Thursday the 25th
we are
of 2023.
February of 24. 24, not 23.
24. Yeah, 24. Good Lord. That's the
you're
first
behind.
time I did that. First time I've made that. I've even wrote it down.
You're trying to climb back into your 50s real quick, aren't you? We do have a good show for you today.
Oh, we got to go. No, I'm paired in the Hodge twins. We got to go.
We got to go.
I love them boys. God, I was watching some archive videos of them last night, and they're so young.
Oh, man.
They're like, it's got to have been 10 or 12 years ago. They just look so young, and they don't have the big long beards now.
Right.
They're pretty trimmed up. But they're still just characters, dude. Oh my God, I just laugh.
We're the White Hodge twins.
I guess so. I laugh at them. I get a kick out of them boys, and If y'all haven't checked out their podcast or their YouTube channel,
they are so funny.
They're all over different social medias. They're hilarious,
and they're not only funny. They're on spot. They're spot on. That's what I'm trying to say. They politically speaking, these guys are sharp.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're all about.
They cut up
President Trump.
They cut up and they act a fool, but they're not fools.
No,
they're very intelligent men.
Yeah,
and they have a very good point of view, and they have a very very good look at our country.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of our country, what is today's episode about?
Today's episode, you're sitting here with the Kahler boys, two crotchety old men. So we decided we're going to discuss our pet peeves. The things, you know what really burns my butt? A flame about that high.
There you go.
But before we do that, we're going to do scripture of the day.
All right.
I gotta tell a little bit of a story to lead up to the scripture of the day. Paul and Silas are
This isn't about Horatio, is it?
It's not about Horatio. No,
we'll get into that story because you got to tell that story. That is a fantastic
I love that story.
I love hearing you tell it. I really do.
This is a different story. Paul and Silas were on a missionary journey.
We did a cliffhanger right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's a cliffhanger. Paul and Silas were on a missionary journey, and they went to a city called Philippi. And as normal, Paul, being the apostle of the Gentiles, the first thing he would do when he went into a new community is he'd go to the synagogue. So for those of you that don't know, a synagogue is like the ancient Jewish version of a local church. And he would go into the synagogue and he would teach them about Jesus. And some of the Jews would believe and others wouldn't. And the leadership would eventually get upset because Paul was garnering more of a following than they had. So they'd kick him out of the synagogue. And then he'd go out in the marketplace and he would preach Jesus to the Jews or to the Gentiles.
They've been hating Jesus for a long time.
Oh, man. Well, ever since they stood at Pilate's throne and said, crucify him.
For a long time.
Yeah. Even before that.
Yeah, even when he went to his own hometown. They didn't want to have nothing.
They wanted to throw him off a cliff.
They didn't want to throw you off a cliff.
No.
They didn't want you preaching, though.
Not at First Baptist.
They didn't want you preaching.
So anyway, that's the norm for Paul, and that's what happened in Philippi. And while Paul and Silas were out in the marketplace preaching to the Gentiles, there was this demon-possessed slave girl who told the future. She was a fortune teller.
No.
And the guys that owned her made
Chloe.
Yeah, Miss Chloe.
Wow.
Or Cleo. Yeah,
Cleo,
that's right.
Chloe.
That's right.
Sorry to any Chloes out there.
Sorry, Chloe.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and the guys that owned this slave girl made a lot of money off of her doing her fortune telling.
And, yeah. The 1-800 call. Miss Cleo. Yeah.
So anyhow, she was following Paul and Silas around while they were preaching, and she was very loudly proclaiming, "These men are servants of the Most High God, and they show you a way to salvation."
A way.
Paul, understandably, got a little bent out of shape about her message.
Well, she was off a little.
Yeah. Well, a whole lot.
Well, she was teaching the Oprah Winfrey.
That's right.
That's where Oprah got it.
That's where Oprah got it.
From a demon possessed. Wow. Okay.
So Paul turned around and commanded the demon to come out of her.
That didn't make them fellas happy, did it?
Not at all, because now all of a sudden she's not telling fortunes anymore.
No.
She's useless. So these fellas go to the magistrates in Philippi, and they demand Paul's arrest, Paul and Silas, because, quote, They are preaching things that are unlawful for us Romans to believe, which is true. See, if you're a Roman citizen, you're required to worship the emperor. You can't worship the emperor if you're a Christian.
No.
So
them commandments come in play there.
So they snatch up Paul and Silas, they beat them, and they take them to the jail, hand them over to the jailer, and tell the jailer to secure them because tomorrow they're going to have a trial and a hanging with a new rope. And so this jailer takes Paul and Silas, Scripture says, to the inner jail. So they didn't just go to jail; they went to the basement.
So we used to joke about they'd put us under the jail. That's right. That's where they went. Exactly. All right.
And so they're locked up in jail, and Scripture says about midnight, Paul and Silas were singing praises to God, and all of the other prisoners were listening to them. Okay, and about midnight, an earthquake came. And the earthquake opened all the doors and loosened all the chains on all the prisoners.
Well, they say worship is powerful.
I'm telling you.
Music is powerful.
Now, Lloyd, you know I lived in San Diego for about 9 years.
Yeah.
I experienced a couple of earthquakes. I'll never forget my first one. But never before did I experience an earthquake that knew how to unlock doors and loosen
and handcuffs.
Chains. Yeah.
Handcuffs and whatnot. Yeah. Well, that's an earthquake.
So this Philippian jailer comes running out after the earthquake, and he sees the jail standing open, and he assumes that all of his prisoners have fled.
Well, sure, I would too.
Yeah. So he whips out his sword, and he's about to kill himself.
Because he don't want to face the wrath of...
Well, yeah. If you're a Roman official and you lose a prisoner, they don't dock your pay. They torture you to death.
You don't get no more pay.
Yeah.
They dock it completely.
And so he is about to kill himself with his own sword, and Paul calls out to him from inside the prison and says, do yourself no harm. We're all still here.
Not just Paul and Silas, but all the prisoners.
None of the prisoners fled. And so that's where we pick up in this story. So this Philippian jailer, this suicidal Philippian jailer, he called for a light. This is, by the way, I'm sorry, Acts 16, starting in verse 29. He called for a light, ran in, and fell down trembling before Paul and Silas, and brought them out and said, sirs, what must I do to be saved?
Yeah, because your God has got it
I'm telling you. So they said, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved, you and your household. Then they spoke the word of the Lord to him and all who were in his house. And he took them that same hour and washed their stripes, because remember, they got beat before they got locked up. And immediately he and all his family were baptized. Isn't that just, I love that story.
That is awesome.
I love that story.
You know what I like about the story, what really stands out to me?
You know what I like about it? It's true.
Oh, yeah. Is the fact that they were beaten and jailed, and not just stuck in like the holding cell. They were jailed in the middle, down in the bottom. I mean, you can imagine what an ancient prison would be like. I mean,
oh, goodness.
You can only imagine. There's obviously no running water, no electricity.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a crew of workers that come by, trustees that come by and clean up.
And
there's no sewage relief.
Right.
None at all.
There's rats. And,
there's all kinds of disease. But in the middle of that, they're praising God.
Yeah.
And after they got beat and thrown in jail for preaching the word.
Yeah.
And then they get thrown in jail for their troubles, and what do? And instead of being all kind of mad at God, saying like, "Dude, I was
the old cowboy movies beating a tin cup on the bars.
I was working for you, and you let this happen to me." It wasn't that at all. They weren't mad or upset,
and then we see why this happened.
Yeah, and we see what became of, being in your situation and still praising God.
Well,
there's a song. It's I praise Him in the morning, I praise Him in the night. And dude,
through all the song, I praise you through the storm.
Yeah, through all of it, man. You have. That's where your hope comes from.
I love the story of Peter and James when they were preaching Jesus in the temple, and the Sanhedrin had them snatched up and arrested and brought them before the Sanhedrin. Said, "Don't you do that anymore," and they beat them. And Scripture says that they were released and they leapt in the streets shouting with joy because they were found worthy to suffer stripes for Christ.
Man. Talked to my electrician buddy this morning as he was coming to work and I was getting off work.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what do you got planned today? He told me, well, I hope you have a fantastic day. I said, I will. I said, I get to go pay my property taxes today.
That's right.
And he's like, oh, well, that's a bummer. I said, no, I praise God, buddy. I praise God. I said, I can remember a time in my life where a bill like that would have devastated my
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
We would have been months and months and months and months recovering. We would have had to cut back 4 months to prepare for it.
Right.
And I said, and God has me in a position that, you know, the bill's here.
It's not an issue.
It's due in January. Go on, take care of it. I said, I am waiting till the end of January, but but I'm gonna go take care of it.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of that is you're paying property taxes because you have a home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
I got to get a little more comfortable. Hang on a second, y'all. Sorry about this, y'all.
Frank is gonna be mad. Frank is gonna be mad. Frank,
my mom didn't raise no dummy, but if she did, it was my brother.
Frank, I'm sorry, Frank. That's our older brother, and that's just—he's not even here to defend himself.
I think it's funny you think this is aimed at Frank.
Oh, I know it is. I know it is. I know.
Oh man, I've been waiting a week for this moment.
That's hilarious, dude.
Oh man. So let's talk about some pet peeves, man.
Well, all right.
What do you got?
I got one last night. This is one that me and you both agree on and aggravates us. And sometimes we have to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah. Many times.
Driving down the road. You know, last night I'm on the highway.
Right.
And there's a vehicle. It's 10 o'clock at night. I go to work late, you know.
Yeah.
10 o'clock at night. And I'm on the highway. I'm already on the highway. And there's a vehicle coming on the on-ramp. Yeah. And I see this vehicle. I turn my blinker on. I get over into the left lane.
Making room for them.
Let them come on into the highway. They establish themselves on the highway immediately on the corner of my bumper.
Right.
In that other lane. And they match my speed.
Oh, yeah.
For 3 miles, they match my speed.
Yeah.
I even turned my blinker on like, hey, I'd like to get over. Maybe see if they do something. No. So I thought, well, I'll speed up a little bit. So I hit my little button on the cruise control a couple times. It gives me 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so I start gaining on them. I'm looking in the mirror and I see me. I'm starting gaining distance. And when I get the appropriate distance, I'm going to hit my blinker and get over like a conscientious driver would do. And as I speed up and I'm gaining distance, I was like, all right, cool. Then I look over again. They've matched my speed and got right back in the same spot. They sped up 2 miles an hour.
Isn't that something?
And I thought, you got to be kidding me. For another mile we went. And finally, I just hit the brakes. I hit them pretty hard just so they get on by me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're 75 miles an hour. Well, 78 miles an hour now down the highway. And I just kind of didn't lock them up. But I hit my brakes significantly to, you know, slow that thing down. I definitely dipped the front end. And as they went by, you know, then I just got over in my lane and let them go on. But it's I don't know, man. People don't care. They're on
their phones. They're not paying attention.
They're not aware. That's the thing. They're not aware. Yeah. The highway should be a place where you don't have to hit your brakes.
If I'm on the highway, I should never have to hit my brakes.
And if we all paid attention, we could move fluidly through that little obstacle course when needed to, change lanes, let people in and out. And if you are aware of other people, you see somebody that you see up ahead, that there's a slower 18-wheeler. This guy, you're in the fast lane and coming up, and you see that he's going to be in a bind. Flash your lights at him. Let him know he can pull over in front of you.
Yeah. Or speed up so that he can get in behind you.
Well, depending on where he's at.
Yeah.
So he don't have to hit his brakes.
Right.
And we could all work together, but you know what? That's in our whole world, Clay. Our whole world is that way. And that highway is just a reflection.
It's just a picture of what the rest of the world looks like. You're right, man.
You go anywhere and you have these people that have no consideration for anybody.
Yeah.
And they expect and demand you to have consideration for whatever they're doing.
Right. I agree. I was coming, I left work yesterday evening, heading to the church for our Wednesday evening Bible study. By the way, did you watch that?
I didn't. I absolutely forgot it was Wednesday.
It is a good one, but it's a hard one.
It's a
real hard one.
Today's Monday for me.
Yeah.
It'll take me 2 more days to figure out what day it is.
Well, anyway, I'm coming home, going to church from work yesterday, and same thing. I'm on 44, and I'm coming up on where Walmart is, And where Walmart is on 44, for those that aren't familiar with this area, you're coming north. You're in a 60-mile-an-hour speed zone, and it changes right there to 75 miles once you get past there. And I'm coming along, and there is this truck in front of me. And for about 2 miles past that 75-mile-an-hour zone, I've got an 18-wheeler over here, and I got this truck in front of me, and we're doing 65 miles.
Everybody's doing 12, yeah.
65 mile an hour in a 75-mile-an-hour zone. And there's a lot of times on I-44. I talk to the Lord on I-44 probably more than I do anywhere else because I'm repenting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
I have been known to mute my dash camera just in case I catch something on the dash camera I need to share with somebody.
I don't
want to hear nothing incriminating. Yeah, they're like, dude, was that you in that truck? Oh, that was the radio.
Well, how about all of those trips that we've taken down to Dallas since you broke your knee?
And why is it? And you know what? If I offend somebody, hell, you know what? I don't care. They'll be all right. I don't care. I don't care if you'll be okay or not. You'll be all right. I don't care. If my offensive words cripple your life, you didn't have much to stand on to begin with. I'm just saying, you need Jesus. You need Jesus anyway. But most of them people that you see driving slow in the fast lane, they got Oklahoma tags. Do they teach that over there? Is it part of driver's ed?
I don't think so. I think what it is they're so used to driving on their busted up roads, you can't do the speed limit over there.
But why are they in the fast lane? They park. They camp in the fast lane. And I see sometimes in Texas, and not really in our area a lot, you'll see the sign that says this left lane is for passing only. But you know what? Where you see that all over is Oklahoma.
I know.
That's a huge
That's on every
2-lane highway in Oklahoma. It tells you the fast lanes for passing only.
Our buddy Cujo, a couple of years ago, or about a year ago, got pulled over by a highway patrolman. He was leaving Burke and headed to Wichita Falls, and he got pulled over not for speeding, but for being in the fast lane.
I wished I knew who that highway patrolman was.
He'd shake his hand.
I'd shake his hand and buy him a gift basket.
Yeah.
I give him a Texas Roadhouse gift card. I would. It's not for pulling my buddy Cujo over. It's for
enforcing that law. Yeah. Oh man,
aggravating.
Oh, I'm telling you. So another pet peeve. This one is a little more contemporary to our time right now. Have you noticed how legacy media is trying to ignore Donald Trump?
Oh, I know.
It is absolutely amazing to me. Here's the thing. Whether you like the guy or not, he's news.
It's news, and we want to watch news. We don't want to watch your opinion. If we wanted to watch your opinion, we'd watch The View.
Right.
Because that is somebody's view, and we know what that view is. But we don't want to watch The View. We want to watch the news, and I can't watch normal news. I watched the clip the other night, and it was I'm not gonna say nothing mean, but the rhino that's running against Trump.
Nikki Haley.
Well, anyway, the CNN started out their newscast with Nikki Haley took 100% of some county.
In
New Hampshire, and I was like, wow. Well,
that's impressive.
Then I found out there was 6 whole voters.
That's right.
6.
Yeah.
And they opened their polls for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And
at midnight.
It's a tradition, and it's and
the polls open at midnight. They're open for about 3 minutes, and they have the votes counted by 12:05.
Yeah. and it's meaningless doesn't really describe it.
That's not a strong enough word.
It just doesn't describe it right. But for them to hang the beginning,
the
opening line on Nikki Haley, 100% of this county.
Todd Starnes.
Well, that's impressive. I think you ought to just be like one of the football players and retire on top.
That's right. You know what? Trump should just drop out of the race after that.
Well,
there's no way he can come back from beating like that.
Oh no, not 100%. I mean, them 6 votes are gonna be hard to take.
Todd Starnes, who's a conservative commentator, I send you a lot of his stuff sometimes. Todd Starnes had a headline, and it said, "Congratulations to Nikki Haley for winning the Democrat nomination in New Hampshire."
No doubt. That's it's a silly thing.
Well, and the thing about New Hampshire, Trump obviously beat her soundly. He had, I think, 55% of the vote. She had like 42% of the vote.
Oh yeah, she was.
But here's the thing about New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, if you are registered as a Republican or a Democrat, you can only vote in the Republican or the Democrat primary. But if you're an independent, then you can choose which side you want to vote on.
Right.
And I think it was like 85% of the votes that she got were Democrat leaning independents.
Yes.
So
it's just
but here's going to be the test.
Horse and pony show. Dude.
Next month is the test. Next month she goes to her home state of South Carolina
to get beat.
Can you imagine how embarrassing it would be? She was a 2-term governor in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And she's going to get beat.
She's going to go in and lose that.
Yeah. Her people. That's rough. If she doesn't drop out between now and then. And
she's got unlimited backing, dude.
Oh, she does.
One of the reasons DeSantis dropped out, he ran out of money.
Yeah.
I mean, and he so much as said that. Well, that's not going to be a problem for her because she is so backed by.
Which is amazing.
They interviewed her,
Trump,
and they asked her, if she was getting Democrat donations.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And then they called her out on one, and she's like, well, if you want to just pick one out of the crap. So.
Oh, it's just scary.
So I'm not, that's another thing. You had to roll right into the next pet peeve. Is the unbelievable amount of lies we're fed directly from our government.
Right.
Anybody, I've said this before on this podcast.
All different forms of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody that works for taxpayer dollars, that gets paid by taxpayer dollars, is allowed to lie.
Right. In fact, it's probably in their job description.
Well, and not all people do. Like I said, I've got dear friends that work for the city of Burkburnett. And the two people I'm thinking of, I couldn't imagine any two people on the planet to have more integrity than these two people.
Let me take it a step further. I'm not going to say that I'm friends with, but I know personally Ronnie Jackson, our congressional representative, and as long as I've known him, and as long as I've been following him in politics, I've never seen a single time that you can accuse him of lying.
I guarantee you the two people I'm referring to, they're the kind of people that they have had careers in working for the taxpayer.
Right.
And if it came down to, no, you're going to have to tell these lies or you have to find another job.
They'd walk away
immediately without question.
Speaking of which.
Without question. Oh, I think I know what you're going to bring up.
Did you hear the recording?
Yes, I knew you was going to bring that up.
Of the Republican chairman of Arizona
bribing
Ricky Lake,
trying
to bribe her to drop out of the race,
saying they had big money. They were ready
to
put
your price.
Yep, ready to put their money where their mouth is. And
holy
a big
crap!
Oh my God,
that is just. And he resigned today.
Yeah, he resigned.
He resigned. This morning,
and he's
hiding.
Well, yeah.
And I heard the whole thing.
I did too.
Whole thing.
I listened to the whole thing yesterday, and then I listened to it again last night.
She said they'll have to kill me to stop me.
Yeah.
Dude. It's funny. Legacy Media and the Rhinos are all now talking about how if Trump wins the nomination, he needs to pick Nikki Haley as his vice president. I'm Ricky Lake. Ricky Lake needs to be the vice president. Man, I'm telling you, I would follow that woman through hell wearing gasoline-soaked drawers.
Yes, sir.
That is just amazing.
Well, she stands up for our country. She cares about it.
And she got robbed in the gubernatorial race in Arizona.
Oh, did you hear our president when he said the real governor?
No, I didn't hear that.
No, I got to bring it up. I know we don't really do this, but I got to find that. They're talking about how Trump was election denying and all that business.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
And, Biden got up there and he was saying something about,
since we're talking about pet peeves, I'm just going to say one of my pet peeves is anything that involves Joe Biden. I heard a guy on the news this morning as I was getting ready, and he was talking about how Joe Biden's record speaks for itself. Look at all that he's accomplished.
Oh my God, I was watching.
Isn't that amazing when you hear that crap? And a couple of the things that he was talking about. By the way, speaking of pet peeves, I got one here. How about every time that they talk about all of the jobs that Joe Biden has created?
Well, Colin Harris was just talking about that. I can't find it. I won't spend a lot of time finding it. She was just talking about that, and she said, the reason why their ratings are down, she was explaining it.
Yeah.
And it's because we, people,
aren't smart enough to realize what they've done for us.
They've done a lot. They've accomplished a lot. They just hadn't let us know yet.
Yeah.
That's what she said. We just hadn't let our acknowledgement know.
That's funny.
We haven't let it be known yet.
So
and then she talked about the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
The jobs are just jobs that were there before. And then we had COVID.
Yeah.
And people went
got laid off or they got separated from their jobs due to COVID because businesses were shut down.
Then we all went back to work.
And they all went back to work. And Joe Biden is saying, I've created all these millions of jobs.
14 million jobs. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
He's the man.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I just watched gas in the last week go up 40 cents a gallon.
Yep. Yep. Again. It's amazing to me. Absolutely.
It gets down to where it's near affordable, where a fella might put some fuel in his truck and go somewhere besides just work.
Right.
And then all of a sudden right back up to $2.99.
Yep. Oh, man.
Saw that this morning. Was glad I got gas last night.
Yeah. Yeah. So another pet peeve that I've got, the fact that we are allowing probably the smallest segment of our society dictate our speech, dictate how businesses operate, dictate our entertainment industry. And of course, I'm talking about the whole trans movement.
We're going to keep going, and we're going to what happened to
they've infiltrated the military.
Jordan Peterson. What's happened to Jordan Peterson is going to happen in America.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's going to happen. You know, he has to be retrained. Yes. He's been found guilty of all of it.
Oh my God.
He's been found.
So they got his license.
Not yet. I reposted the other day his talk about it. They said they're going after my license. He said they don't have it yet, but he has to go through retraining until they figure out that he's learned his lesson, whatever his lesson is, and isn't going to do whatever he's compelled not to do anymore. And I don't know. He said, I don't know who they are or how they're going to determine that or what they're going to try to teach me. You know who I feel sorry for? The poor people that are going to try to teach Jordan Peterson. How frustrating would it be?
Here's the thing. Jordan Peterson's not going to subject himself to that. Number one, he has become such an influencer. I hate that word, but he's become such an influencer online. This guy is making bank. Doing speaking engagements.
And he's going to have...
And it's only going to get more after this.
Right. He'll have more influence
on more persecuted he is, the more popular he's going to become.
And he'll have more influence on more of the people. The more of the people he'll be able to shud the truth and the like to.
Absolutely.
And but I would love to sit in on a session when they're going to teach him. He's an incredibly smart man.
Oh man, brilliant man.
He is I've
read his book.
Very smart man.
I've read his book. And 12 Rules for Life.
And I'll tell you what, I would like to see them.
Oh man.
Anybody that would try to debate him would be foolish.
Oh yeah,
just would.
Well, and I've seen it. Where he's been a guest on news programs and stuff like that, and they try to pin him down, and he plays with them like a cat plays with a mouse.
Toys, yes, absolutely toys.
And he's brilliant.
And he sets them up, and they do it all themselves, and then they make themselves look really stupid.
Oh, I know.
And he's sitting over there with a smug look on his face because he's 10 times smarter than you.
Yeah.
Well, and you're the idiot that jumped in the ring with Mike Tyson and said, let's go now. You know?
Here's the thing about, Jordan Peterson. Yes, he is an absolute genius, and that's evident. But you don't have to be. Because he is talking common sense. And he's combating lunacy.
Well, the lunacy that he's combating is this forced speech.
Yeah.
You can't compel me to say something. That's ridiculous. That is unbelievably ridiculous. How in the world can you compel any human being to be forced to say whatever words you choose? Right. That's ridiculous.
There's a fast food joint that I often hit on my way to work. And over the last couple of months, there is a Hispanic male with a long ponytail and makeup that waits on me.
Okay. Knock yourself out.
This is a dude.
Do your job.
Pretending to be a female.
That's his prerogative.
And you know what? I'm just as kind and gracious to him as I am anyone else.
Sure. He can do whatever he wants.
But what I won't do is I'm not going to play along with his delusion.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend with him.
No, I'm not going to join in unless I become delusional myself.
Right. Yeah.
And if I become delusional myself, I'll probably sit over at his house.
And at that point, I'm putting you in a nursing home.
Then I'm going to need my brother to intervene. But yeah, that's me. I'm not going to join in your illusion.
And it's infected our military. It's infected every aspect of our life.
And it is like
they're
everything
trying
else.
To pass laws.
Clay, it's like anything else that's going on right now. The border invasion, and it's an invasion.
It is.
It's all intentional.
Oh, 100%.
Every bit of it's intentional, and it's designed to weaken the fabric of America, period. They want to get rid of men. They want to get rid of any nuclear family.
I'm gonna use what you just said as a springboard, and I'm gonna make a slight correction. Yes, to weaken the fabric of America, but more importantly, to weaken the Americans.
Yeah,
they want us weak, right, as citizens,
but it's not working.
No. As a matter of fact, it's backfiring on them.
It's backfiring on them.
Did you see the trucker convoy story about the truckers and recreational vehicles that are going to the southern border?
Tractors.
Yeah.
And they're calling for... Did you see Governor Abbott? He called for all Texans to be armed.
Yes. Yes.
I've seen a ton of videos on, with sheriffs from counties in Florida and Texas, mostly. I think there was a couple of Arizona sheriffs.
Yeah.
But then last night, I watched our governor tell our people to be careful, be vigilant.
Yeah.
We need to be armed. We need to be prepared to defend ourselves. That's never happened in my lifetime.
Never. And when your government is telling you to be prepared, you might want to listen.
Yeah.
You might want to listen.
Yeah, especially when your governor is doing things that
now,
are on
having
your
said
side.
that, Joe Biden has had the same message. You need to be careful of those ultra mega extremists, you know.
You know, that's...
Speaking of which, I haven't shown this off yet today.
that right there is amazing to me. You know, they talk about, I hear them, they're always trying to talk about Trump. You know, they've got his name in his mouth. He's got the best advertising in the world.
I'm telling you.
But they talk about how if he's upset with somebody, he says something.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's a counterpuncher.
Yeah.
And they're upset. You know, they're like, well, you can't talk to voters like that. This news reporter said, what about the way Biden separates half of the country?
Right.
Half of the voters that have any support for Donald Trump, he calls them out and you know, they're mega, they're diseased, they're deplorable.
Well, and Hillary started that with the deplorable.
Yeah. And he said, is that not a disdain to the American people?
Right.
I mean, you got a government official that can't stand half of America.
Not just a government official. The president.
The president. Well, and it trickles down.
Or the occupant of the office.
The puppet of president. And it trickles down from that, you know. I don't know. Once again, just the lies. The more and more lies. And it's constant lies. And it's lies everywhere.
But you know what? Like we said before, it's not working. There is a lash back. And I think it probably, I don't know that I'm going to say it started here, but it certainly got the nitrous oxide got applied here. And that was 2 years ago when Biden did that speech with the red background and the Marines behind him, that first anti-ultra MAGA speech, where he looked like some World War II dictator.
Dude, yes. It looked satanic. The backdrop and everything looked
blood red lights.
Satanic, dude.
And I felt so bad for those two Marines that were forced to stand there during that.
Yeah, because of the commander-in-chief.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And, you know, I mean, we could spend this entire podcast talking about our pet peeves in politics, but in our society. Another one, is the just all out war that is being waged against Christianity.
Yeah,
in every form. I'm not Catholic. I don't agree with the Catholics theologically, but man, they are under attack.
Absolutely. And you look at them groups. I'm recently saved.
Yeah.
I spent the majority of my adulthood not saved.
Yeah.
And I didn't affiliate myself. I thought all of it was just made up. It was
Right.
all the Catholic.
Hooey.
Every bit of it was
hooey.
Every bit of it. If you believed in Buddha, Jesus, or you're worshiping Mother Mary, it was all hooey and made up. But it was fine. I didn't care. And as a matter of fact, if I knew that somebody was, let's say, a Christian family or a Catholic family,
right,
what they call a good Catholic family, you kind of knew that those people were good people.
Yeah.
You knew that those people had good morals. You knew that you could probably trust them as much as you trust people.
Yeah.
You could probably trust them. They're probably more trustworthy.
They had a leg up on other folks.
Yeah, more trustworthy than the average folks.
Yeah.
Or the folks that
the folks you were running around with.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna say it like that, but truth be told, yeah, my buddies.
Yeah.
But now it's like if you have that Christian mark on you, that's bad.
Yeah,
that's bad. You might as well have a face tattoo.
Well, and we talked about this last week, but DOJ and all the 3-letter agencies have got this bulletin out now, and where they're having banks search bank records, and if you bought religious materials
or anything from Bass Pro Shops,
right? But in this context, they even specifically said Bibles.
A Bible.
If you buy a Bible, you are now a threat to the federal government.
Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm telling you now, it's very possible that I am going to die preaching the gospel.
Very possible.
Because I'm not going to quit preaching the gospel until my blood pump stops.
Well, if my trigger finger still works, I'll get that.
We're not dying alone.
I'll get that fella that got you.
We're not dying alone.
We're not dying alone. I will.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? We've talked about this before too, but if we heard two fellows having this conversation 10 years ago, we would laugh and say, look at these two nut jobs.
We'd be asking them if they wanted to buy a little tinfoil for their hat.
Yeah.
Did you hear where, I think it was California. I think it was.
Probably.
Where you're not allowed to carry guns in churches, parks.
Oh yeah.
And the ladies, why would you need to carry it?
Right.
Why would you need?
Yeah.
Let's ask the people at these churches.
Yeah.
One in South Texas said the guy saved some people because he had a
White
gun.
Settlement.
Yeah.
White Settlement, Church of Christ. Absolutely.
Let's ask them. What happened if that fella wouldn't have been armed?
Right.
Well,
Jack Wilson was his name.
The other fella would have had a heyday.
Yeah.
What about that kid that shot that potential mass shooter in the mall?
Yeah.
At 40 yards.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Dude.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Good job, young man.
I think he fired
10 rounds.
10 rounds and hit him 9 times.
8 times.
8 times?
8 times.
That's impressive. That's somebody who's been to the range a few times.
Yeah.
So
Collion, because he said that's somebody who's trained.
Yeah.
That's somebody who's familiar.
They've actually named a drill after him, after that kid.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It is, you have to, I think it was 15 seconds. You have to shoot 10 rounds at 40 yards, 15 seconds.
They get 8 of them.
They named a drill after that kid.
Outstanding.
And Jack Wilson, he was 40 feet away from that guy with the shotgun. One shot to the cranium.
Yeah, boy.
Turned his lights right off.
He's a Marine.
Oh, man.
He's a Marine. They want to take that. That masculinity, they call it toxic. That masculinity that has built America, built the world.
And has protected America. We've talked about this before, but can you imagine today's youth storming the beaches of Iwo Jima?
I need a safe spot.
Yeah.
You're not using my pronouns right. That bullet don't know no pronouns.
No, that bullet will misgender you in a heartbeat.
War separates the men from the boys, they say.
Yeah.
And it would also separate generations.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've seen different videos where they're like, I'm not going to war.
No.
I'll go to jail.
That one kid that figured it out and said, you know what? I've got a better chance going to federal prison than going to war.
He said it's 5 years federal prison.
Yeah.
If found guilty. 5 years. He said, I do 5 years. I get out. No probation. Federal prison's not too bad. They even got cable.
Yeah.
He said you get good medical.
3 meals and a warm place to sleep.
Yeah, and you got good medical.
Yeah.
He said in 5 years I get out, no probation, I move on with my life. He said you put me out there with a gun, I'm probably going to die.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
And he logically figured this out.
Yes, and you know what? I'd have to agree with him.
Yeah.
I think his mentality and abilities, he's not the same kids we were.
Mm-mm.
He would mentally break down. He wouldn't be able to mentally handle it. First off, he has no idea what end of the gun is for.
Right.
He thinks they all have magazines. Sorry, DJ, that's a dig at you. And he just uninformed,
right.
and has been poisoned by our educational system. How awful and horrible guns are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
There used to be. I never got into none of them. It was before I actually got TikTok. They did TikTok challenges.
Yeah.
And it used to be just a bunch of kids doing like the stupidest stuff.
Yeah, eating Tide Pods and snorting condoms.
Yeah, the stupid stuff. Well, I seen it's an adult version of a TikTok challenge, and not adult, but
yeah.
grown folks. And what these guys are doing is they're taking their firearms, mainly the black scary ones, and they're displaying them, putting them down with a clock next to them.
Yeah.
See how long it takes for that bad gun to get up and do something.
Now, have you seen the other one with firearms? This was a couple of years ago. These idiots would take their handgun, place it against their gentleman vegetables and their gentleman sausage, and pull that trigger all the way to the point that the hammer comes back or they hit the wall and then let off. And there was a whole bunch of them that neutered themselves.
That's good. I like that challenge. I'm behind that challenge.
That's just brilliant right there.
That is taking the warning labels off stuff. You know what I mean? What did that comedian say? We didn't have warning labels. We
played with guns, knives, and fireworks. You know what happened to the stupid ones?
They didn't make it. They didn't make it.
So another pet peeve I got, speaking on this topic, and this one I'm going to call out the Veterans Administration. Every time I go to the VA and I go, they go through that screening with you where they do your blood pressure and they ask you all these questions. One of the questions that they are asking now are do you have any firearms in your house and how many? That is a medical question that the VA is required to ask.
Well, because according to Biden, that's horrible.
Yeah. My answer is I've got a hunting rifle, and I just stop right there. That's it.
That's horrible.
Yeah, because I don't want to lie. As a Christian man, I'm not going to lie.
Well,
but
is it not an acceptable answer to say none of your business?
It is.
But then you're flagged. For being uncooperative.
Yeah, so I tell them I got a hunting rifle. I figured that was the easiest way to get out of that one.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, I just took my pistol off my hip before I went in there.
Well, maybe you just didn't finish your sentence. They didn't give enough time.
Well, I'm just answered the question. It's true. I do have a hunting rifle.
Yeah.
I just didn't elaborate beyond that. And that is a question that the VA is requiring doctors or medical staff to ask.
That's part of that overreach.
Well, and that goes with that being on a list.
Yeah, and that part of that government overreach.
Oh, man. Just absolutely
in your business when you don't need to be. I'm going to tell you here, I got me a new pet peeve. It's happening down in Houston.
Oh, yeah?
And it's happened 91 times as of, I think, last night. 91 times. 91 times the Houston Police Department has come by and wrote these people a ticket for feeding homeless.
Oh, wow. Wow.
91 tickets for feeding homeless.
Yeah. All because health inspections and all of that, or have you heard any justification on it?
It's a city ordinance.
Yeah.
We ran into the same thing with Wichita Falls. With my church, we were doing a once a month feed.
Yeah.
And they kind of come down there and they tried to put some restrictions. Well, look, it's just a potluck dinner. It's all it was.
Yeah.
People were just showing up with crock pots.
Yeah.
And then people from that neighborhood who happened to be in a poor neighborhood,
right?
They'd come by and get food and clothing, and we had toiletries to give out, and
Yeah.
community outreach.
Right.
Jeez, what a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
The city shut us down.
Wow.
City of Wichita Falls shut us down because we didn't have food handlers card. We didn't have proper refrigerators. We didn't have commercial grade dishwashers.
Yeah.
Whatever excuse they could use. We tried to argue and tried to not really argue, tried to negotiate a deal. We just want to help the community. They said we could do it a few months out of the year. This couldn't be a regular thing.
Now, see, that, to me, that right there is just capricious. If it's right, how can it be right to do in March but wrong to do in May? That's just
government overreach and more lies.
Yeah.
And why would you stop that?
Yeah.
Why?
There's got to be a reason.
Ego and power, dude.
Yeah.
It's government overreach and it's ego and power. We wonder where our police officers get it.
Right.
Well, they get it from their bosses.
Yeah.
And our bosses get it from their bosses. And it all comes down, I'm in charge. It's an I'm in charge thing, and you're lesser than me because you're not in charge.
That's right.
And period, no matter what. If I'm in an elected official position, I feel that way.
Yeah.
If you put a badge and a gun on my side, I have to feel that way. And then whether I'm right or wrong makes no difference. I have to exert my authority. It's almost like that mentality of when you're a dad and your kid does something wrong and you're trying to get on to him, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
But you can't laugh.
Right.
Because as soon as you laugh, all authority is gone out the window.
Absolutely.
And they feel that way. They feel if they admit that they're wrong, or they've overreached or overstepped, then they lose all authority. Right. And what they don't realize is what they're not maybe losing authority, but what they're losing is respect.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, too.
I have such a horrible disdain for police in general from what I see all across our nation. And it's not, thank God, I haven't run into any of that kind of stuff in our little small town.
Right.
And I've said that before.
Yeah.
The cops that we deal with in Burke-Burnett, a little, but nothing like you see everywhere else.
Right.
And
I don't necessarily think it's everywhere else. I think what happens is you're watching so many of these videos, it feels like it's everywhere.
I thought of that, and we've talked about that before, because you as an ex-law enforcement, I know you kind of got a little. There's some partiality towards that law enforcement family.
There is, but I'll call them out when they need to be called out.
And that's it, dude. My whole life, I've had nothing but respect for law enforcement. But here lately, and I started to really pay attention to where these different people were in our country.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's all over the state of Texas.
Right.
All over the state of Texas.
And there are bad cops in every agency.
And it's all over Georgia, Arkansas, all up the East Coast, all in California, Arizona, Utah.
Yeah.
I can't think of a state that I haven't. I don't think I've seen these guys like in Montana, Wyoming, because who are you going to audit?
Yeah.
What cop is going to come? There's not one.
Right.
There's one cop for 800 square miles. You know what I mean? The chances are.
So when I was a cop in Louisville, one of the duties that I wound up getting was I taught a class in the academy, and it was the first class that these cadets went into, and it's called Introduction to Policing. And I really enjoyed teaching that class. And there's a couple of things that were part of my curriculum. The first thing that I would tell these guys is I would say, for those of you that make it out of the academy and make it out on the street, I want you to understand something. The only difference between you and the people that you're going to encounter is that they got caught.
Right.
Every one of us in this room, including myself, have done things that should have got me locked up.
Guilt, something.
Yeah.
None of us are nowhere near perfect.
And another thing I would teach them is you will only receive that degree of respect that you're willing to show the people you're dealing with. There's no reason to deal with people in a disrespectful way.
I shared a video with you where a young lady got literally snatched off the streets, kidnapped, and thrown in a cage because a 22-year veteran, he was a lieutenant for 22 years, didn't know what reasonable articulable suspicion was.
Right.
He didn't know that in that state, I don't remember what state it was, but in that state,
probable cause.
In that state, the ID law.
Yeah.
Just because the policeman says, I'm a cop and I got a badge and I say you got to give me your ID. No, that's not what the law says.
Right.
Their ego says. and their training and their policies.
Which, by the way, now every state, you don't have to give your ID unless you committed a crime or they suspect you of a crime.
And like in Texas, it's not until you're arrested.
Yeah,
it's 3802 in Texas. Is you have to present ID when you're lawfully arrested.
Right.
If you're lawfully detained, you're not allowed to give them false ID. Right. That's against the law.
That's
or
true.
A false name.
Right.
If you handed them a false ID, that's obviously against the law. Or if I say, well, my name's Joe Blow.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
If I'm legally detained.
Failure to ID is the law there.
But failure to ID is a secondary crime.
Right. And there has to be a primary crime.
There has to be. And that's when these cops get caught with their, doing wrong, and they'll be like, well, failure to ID. And they'll lock this person up. They've done wrong.
Yeah.
And they know they've done wrong, but there's absolutely no accountability. Nothing will happen except the guy that got arrested falsely, he gets thrown in jail. He gets his freedom took away from him. If he has a vehicle there, it gets towed and he has a new bill.
Right.
Possible damage to his car. How many times have you seen a car repoed or towed away that ended up getting damaged?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy who's doing it, he's got a job to do. He's just trying to hurry up. Maybe he's got 10 to do that night. I don't know.
Right.
And so you have all that kind of hassle. And then you got to try to get your property back. It's just tremendous hassle on the guy that did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And then the one that did something wrong actually broke the law because he illegally arrested you. That's breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's why they call it illegally.
Right.
He gets administrative leave paid while they investigate.
Yeah.
So he gets a 4 or 5 day vacation on the taxpayer's dime.
Yeah.
If they investigate and you do get to sue and you win a judgment, the taxpayers pay that.
Yeah, you and I are paying that.
Right. So the guy that broke the law has zero accountability. And they're literally trained to lie. Yeah. And it just drives me up the wall, man. And I won't say everywhere because a lot of them cops, there's one guy in his Amagasti Press or something, I can't pronounce it. He's from New York originally, and he goes around with his son. This guy's extremely respectful, first off.
Yeah.
Everybody's yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. And he just shows up and he travels he does this full time. And he goes all across the whole United States, everywhere. I mean, in all states.
Yeah.
And he goes around towns and just makes travel videos. And he films the streets of the town. He'll walk down the streets and just film people, film businesses. Mm-hmm. And he's very knowledgeable on these laws. And he's good at it. He's real good at it. But I've seen them rough up and beat him, or not beat him up, but just rough him up. And it's like a gang mentality.
Yeah.
And when they realize they're wrong, they double down.
Yeah.
Because there's zero accountability. It's like our politicians. Our press secretary can sit up there and tell us any lie she wants to. I watched a reporter last night ask her, why does the Biden administration keep spouting she called it out, keep spouting the same lie about the National Guard in Texas,
right,
allowing them people to drown and not allowing the Border Patrol to save them. She said, that's a lie. It's been proven that it was a lie.
Yeah.
Why do y'all keep saying it?
The Mexican government even acknowledged
the Mexican government didn't tell the Texas side for an hour after. I mean, it's unfortunate this poor lady drowned. And if we didn't have such an open border policy that was inviting them in, she probably wouldn't have been in that position. If she'd have come around to the front door, she wouldn't have drowned.
She'd have been welcomed.
She'd been welcomed. Her and her children have been welcomed, took care of. Mm-hmm. We want immigrants that come in the right way. Yes, we have enough room in America to allow a certain number of legal to come in. Not anymore.
No, we're full now. We need to put up the no vacancy.
Her answer to that was when she called her right out and said, it's been disproven. This is the real story. She said, well, we don't think it's misinformation.
Yeah.
That was her answer.
That's her answer.
Her official answer as a spokesperson for the president is we don't think that.
Yeah.
We still think we're right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's special.
And then when you ask a follow-up question to her, she'll say, I've already answered that question. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just amazing.
It's unbelievable. I couldn't be a reporter there.
You remember the?
I'd be like, no, you're answering this question.
Do you remember the reporter from an African nation that went to war with her? This guy's from somewhere in Africa, and he was a press pool reporter in the White House, and he called her out so many times because she would never call on him. Never. Not one time did she ever call on him. And this dude's he's like, I don't understand. Why won't you call on me? And he wound up suing the White House. I don't know what the outcome of that was, but he's no longer a press reporter in the White House.
Right, yeah, he won't get his little pass no more.
But yeah, it's just amazing. Amazing. So this was a great fest. We talked about all of our pet peeves, but you know what? I think we ought to end on a positive note. And one thing I'm going to say is, and we talked about this briefly, but we're starting to see a tide turn in our country. There's a lot of people that traditionally would go along with whatever the Democrats wanted to do.
I watch a lot of social media.
Yeah. And we're seeing African American, we're seeing
that's
Hispanic.
the community. That's the community. And it's so, our country is so in trouble that me and you can't say things like this because we're white.
Right.
And if we start, saying things that the black community needs to say.
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah, they are.
Well, then all of a sudden we're bigots and we're racist and we're everything else. And I
don't
care.
We could sit here.
I'm American.
We could sit here quietly for an hour and just stare at the camera, and we're still bigots and racist.
Right.
So who cares?
You
can't cancel me.
I watched a young black man the other day, and he was saying, man, and I commented on his post, and I'm like, man, I'm your brother. I'm on your side.
Yeah.
But he was like, we have got to quit letting the politicians tell us
separate us,
who we need to like and who we need to don't like. He said, what we need to realize is we are Americans.
Here's the thing.
We're not black Americans. We're not white Americans. We're not Spanish Americans. We're not Asian Americans. He said, we're Americans.
It's not me against you. It's us against them.
That's it. He said, until we realize
that.
And then he called out, he said, who would join me as being an American?
Yeah.
Who would be on my side? Who would invite the black guy to their house as an American?
Yeah.
I said, I'm your brother.
Yeah.
Come on. Your skin color don't mean nothing.
No.
What it mean? Well, you can't say that. I hate that people say, I don't see skin color. What are you, blind?
Right.
I do. I see what color you are. But
you don't care.
If you had a purple arm, I'd say like, your arm's purple. Because I see that.
Yeah.
But it's got nothing to do with who you are.
Right. Right.
Your character, what you are inside, how you act, what you say, what you do, how you conduct yourself. That's what I'm interested in.
Exactly.
We need the community in a whole needs to come together.
Right.
We need to realize that we are American.
But here's the sad part to me in that. I use that illustration. It's not us against each other. You and me against each other. It's us against them. That's sad to me. Yeah. Why are we in a position now that it has to be the American people against our own government?
Our own government.
That is just heartbreaking.
Well, you look what they do. You look what they do. The laws they pass, the bills they pass. Nothing is for us.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
All of it is cost us. Every bit of it cost us. When you spend, dude, we do weird science experiments.
Mm-hmm.
We fund
the
weirdo kids that skin cats back in 8th grade.
Yeah.
They're now scientists.
Yeah.
And they want to do weirdos cat skinning projects, and we're funding them.
Sure enough.
They shot beagles up with cocaine. They spent $19 million, I think it was, $19 million shooting beagles up with cocaine.
I wonder how many of those scientists were partaking in that cocaine themselves.
If you're doing weirdo experiments like that, you're high yourself.
Yeah.
If your brain went there, you got a dope brain.
We were supposed to be going positive.
Yeah, I know. But man, you know what the basis of their study was? They wanted to see extended use of cocaine was bad.
Oh my gosh.
Clay, this is last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't in the 50s.
That's like doing a multi-billion-dollar study to see if water's wet.
Water's not wet.
It's not.
It's not.
No, it makes things wet.
It makes things wet.
Good point.
I
good
saw
point.
the guy explain this
That's
the
a
other
good
night.
point. It's funny.
And
I've never seen that, but as soon as you said that, my brain started.
And he said, the way he explained
it,
I can't articulate the way this guy does, but the way he explained
That's funny.
He had the other guy going, Okay, wait a minute.
Well, it goes hand in hand with something, and I just used this last Sunday. Darkness doesn't exist.
No.
Darkness is the absence of light.
Cold doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's the absence of heat.
And evil
is the absence of good. And I used that very same illustration last Sunday in church.
Yeah, water is not wet.
That's interesting.
It makes things wet.
That's interesting. I never thought of that perspective, but doesn't it have to be wet to make things wet?
Well, you know what? That's what that guy kept saying. So then he said, is the ground, is the dirt dirty? Or does it get dirty when you put it on something? Your table, if I went outside, you wouldn't think, man, don't go outside. The ground's all dirty.
Right.
Well, if I went in there and brought it in here and put it on your table, now your table's dirty.
Right.
I don't know.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
You know, things that make you go, huh? I watch way too much videos.
Yeah. If you like what you're seeing,
well, let's end on a positive note.
Well, let me finish this part.
Okay.
Like, comment,
subscribe
if you like what you're seeing. And remember, my mama didn't raise no dummy, but if she did, it's my brother.
Frank, I'm sorry that he said that right there on the podcast.
Yeah.
Positive note. I watched a ton of videos last night, and all of them were kids laughing.
Yeah.
Kids laughing. If you're in a bad mood,
there you go.
Get on one of the social media deals and pick up, just type in the search bar, kids laughing.
Yeah.
And it's just, and the funniest one, but I wish I could remember that little girl's name. I can't. But anyway, Sophia. Her name was Sophia. And she is the cutest little thing ever. And she's probably about 3.
Yeah.
And you see her looking at a phone. She's looking at a phone. And you hear mom in the background. Sophia, do you got my phone?
I seen
and
that.
She's like, no. And she takes off running. And mom is trying to get her. And that girl is running with that phone and giggling. I watched that on a repeat. Well, I bet 10 minutes.
That's funny. Oh, yeah.
The whole time I ate my dinner last night, I just watched that on repeat. Watching Sophia run through that house with that phone.
There's another one. It's a baby in a high chair, and something tickles this baby, and this baby's throwing her head back and just giggling, and mom and dad start laughing. They can't help themselves. Yeah, you're right. That's contagious.
That is contagious.
You know, I in my line of work, my full-time job, I'm away from the house for, extended periods of time. And so I eat out a lot. As much as I don't want to, I'm going to restaurants. And I'll be sitting in a restaurant and I will hear a child laugh. And I'll hear that giggle, and it just makes me smile from ear to ear. That is contagious. You're absolutely right. Take time to laugh, y'all.
Me and Brandy were in Cracker Barrel a couple years ago. And behind us was a young couple, obviously they were young, 20s, and they had a little baby. This little baby was about 2 or 3. And the little baby was tickled with itself.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea. I don't care. Yeah. I was enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
And that baby,
it's music. It's music.
That baby's not just giggling. That baby is full on laughing. Right. I mean, laughing loud. Everybody in the restaurant is probably hear that baby.
Yeah.
And mama, I kind of turned around a couple of times just looking at the baby smiling. I was enjoying it. And mama I think she kind of got a self-conscious because I turned around and looked a couple of times. And they were immediately behind us. And
she's trying to shush him.
She was trying to shush it. And then I turned around quick and said, "Oh, please don't shush that baby." I said, "That's the greatest sound on earth.
It is.
That is absolutely." I said, "That makes my meal better."
Oh, yeah.
I said, "If that baby stops laughing," I said, "my meal will all of a sudden get worse."
And it's funny. I don't know why. And my partner, she laughs at me about this. It's funny. Anytime we're in a restaurant and there's a baby with an eye shot, and I don't know if it's the hat, if it's the beard, or what. Babies stare at me.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I encourage them.
Oh, yeah. Me too. And it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. And of course, eventually the parents notice and they start looking and, then I'll engage them in conversation.
And they cut up with you.
Yeah. Well, folks, definitely take time to laugh. And what's your line?
Take time to be kind.
There you go.
Doesn't cost anything to be nice.
That's right.
Doesn't. That's right. But you know what? Doesn't cost anything to be mean either.
That's true. And you know what? Going back to Jordan Peterson, Jordan Peterson said that a man needs to be dangerous.
A monster,
but know how to control it.
That's right.
I love his definition of meek, the word meek. He said, it is having a sword, knowing how to use it, but keeping it sheathed.
That's right.
And the day may come, brothers and sisters, the day may come that we have to be meek.
Clay, there's a family, once again, social media, how true it is, not real sure, but feasible. It's very plausible.
Yeah.
There's a family that lives 6 hours north of Eagle Pass.
Yeah.
And this man has quit his job, and two of his best friends has quit their job trying to protect his land and house because he's had a number of cartel break in, steal stuff, vehicles, rob stuff, and
he's literally had to quit his livelihood just to protect his
family.
That's amazing.
In the interior of the United States.
Yeah, 6 hours north, you said.
6 hours north of Eagle Pass.
That's amazing. That's pretty close to us.
That's not too far of Eagle Pass is about a 9-hour drive.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's 3 or 4 hours away, Clay, and they're in a battle for property.
By the way,
with cartel.
Keep me in your prayers today. I'm spending the whole day in Oklahoma. I know.
Well, when you leave here, when you cross the river, turn your left blinker on and don't turn it off.
That's right. That's right. Set my cruise control to 45 and
turn your left blinker on and you'll blend right in.
Folks, we're so glad that you joined us today. Again, if you like what you see, we certainly invite you to like, comment, subscribe, be a part of our little family here. And if you don't, that's okay too.
That's right. And Brandy, I know you're stealing my coffee every night.
That is so funny.
I love her. Gosh, she cracks me up.
Well, folks, as always, we appreciate you. We're glad that you joined us. And Lord willing, we'll see you next week. We'll see y'all.
Lift your head.